Oh my god, imagine if Annie is just sat like that.
He's got his wiggle out.
He's ready. He's got full wiggle on. Do you know, like anteaters, they sleep like curled up in a circle and they put their tail over their eyes? And I did not believe this until I went to like go pet one, and we walked in and don't want the anteater's asleep, and it was curled up underneath his tail. And best bit is you just see, like when it wakes up, you just see the snoot come out and go, just looking for food. It's like, I respect it. That right there is an anteater. But yes, welcome to another episode of the Wiki Weekdays podcast. I am your co-host, Karl Smallwood, joined as ever off camera for me and off screen. No, on camera for you guys and off screen for me. No, on screen and off camera.
I'm on camera, Karl. Yeah, I'm on camera.
But you're on camera, but you're off screen for like people watching, like just me. Oh no, because we're both on the same. Damn it.
We're on the podcast.
Yeah. God, I've not had my coffee today. Okay,
this is all staying in.
This is the Wiki Weekends podcast. Wiki Weekdays podcast.
Can you tell we're recording on a different day than usual?
It's weird, isn't it? The older you get, you don't realise like how much routine and then the interruption of a routine can mess you up. Mm-hmm. This is the Wiki Weekdays podcast where we scour the lengths and breadths of the internet to discover wikis on interesting things.
It's going to be okay, Karl.
It's all staying in, I know. And that's the thing. Yesterday was my top 10s recording day, where if I make a mistake, I take a breath and go again. So I'm in like that mindset. Yes, the Wiki Weekdays podcast. We go across the internet, find wikis on things we're interested in and want to talk about, go through them together, and at the end of the video or podcast, just decide which one won this week. So if you're... Lucas, can you take over, please?
Yeah.
Just give me a minute.
Karl. You know what? It's going to be okay.
Be a bro.
Today, I have brought a wiki for us to enjoy, as we always do. And yes, as Karl said, you just need to let us know which wiki won this week, by which, of course, we mean which wiki brought the most fun discussion.
Yes, so not necessarily the subject that you found the most interesting. Well, I guess it could be, but it's like not necessarily the subject you like the most. Because I think one of my biggest pet peeves about the internet is like people like always attaching their personal feelings to stuff that doesn't really need to be attached to. Like, we both watched that Death Battle, don't we? Mm-hmm. You go down to the comments and go, well, I really like this character, but I don't mind that this character won. It's like, it's not about which character you like more. Oh. It's like an objective look at like their strengths and feats and which one would win in like, a fight to the death. And it's just always like, well, I like this character and I don't mind that they lost. It's like, it's not about if you like them. That's literally the point of that series. Is that you remove all of the outside factors and just like put these two things into a fucking street fight. Who's going to win?
Exactly, and I saw that, like, the fucking break in case of emergency has been hit once again because Goku versus Superman #3 is happening, and I'm like, it's just because the Goku fans, again, they won't let it go because they're just too attached to Goku.
It's like, no, Goku always... It's like, here's the thing. We could just talk, like, in Goku's universe, every arc is something stronger than he is. Mm-hmm. There is nothing stronger than Superman.
Yeah.
That's the point. Like, things might, fight him and get in trouble, but then Superman just wins. That's the point. And I think they make that point in like the second one, don't they? Like, Superman is the man without limits. Goku is the character who consistently breaks limits. Mm-hmm. By definition, no one can ever be stronger than Superman. He doesn't have defined limits to break. That is the point. And
like,
just the
Superman
fact they keep...
is the bar.
That's and then every time it's like, well, Goku could do instant transmission. It's like Superman's like fucking caught a black hole in his hands. Like, he caught a black hole in his hands casually. It's like, it's not comparable. It's like, I guess that's every weeb online. That's their Christmas sorted. That's their Christmas. They get to argue.
It's almost as if it's like the Death Battle equivalent of the Snyder Cut, where like they just have to... Like, every now and then just be like, fine, we'll do it. We'll shut you up again.
And I think every time they make a new one, they go even further. Like, yeah, Goku might be strong, but Superman is so stupid. He sneezed a galaxy into existence once.
Or out of existence, I think.
Yeah. And it's like, oh, but like Goku punched once so hard that the entire universe rumbled under like the weight of his blow. It's like Superman once benched infinity. It's like, it's so dumb. There's no comparison. That's the point I got. The internet's going to be insufferable.
It always is. And I understand, like, that's why they have to keep doing it, because Goku keeps getting more and more powerful. But, like, it does. It in theory it doesn't matter because Superman is the bar. But like, yeah, I understand like dealing with some insufferable comments every now and then. I can't imagine being a creator dealing with that bombardment all the time.
It must be as well because essentially they have like an entire research team. Who like their job is like researching the shit. I know someone used to research for a living and still does. I can't imagine how annoying it is that one, like someone who's like, well, I only read the comics for this one. I only read, like, they've read everything to do with it, both characters, like, but I like Goku, so he wins. It's like, have you read every Superman comic? Well, no, but I know Goku's strong. It's like, you literally...
It must be really frustrating.
It's
a bunch of people that aren't fully educated on a topic, essentially shouting at people that, in theory, are well more educated on the topic because they've sat down and researched it for presumably like large amounts of time.
Well, it's like that thing I said, isn't it? Like they attach their personal feelings to it, when it's the whole point of the fight is that you don't.
Mm-hmm. So are we saying that we are the Wiki podcast equivalent of Death Battle?
I guess so.
Where you don't bring your feelings into the fight. It's just one-on-one, like which Wiki won.
Oh yeah.
No, we're just big fans of Death Battle, and have been a fan of the channel for a long time.
I'm always. I do get kind of pissed off though when they say, come on, you got to share this video, guys, so like, you know, big channels don't overtake us on the trending tab. It's like, you're one of those big channels. You're a staple of the inside. When you're sat in a studio and you've got an office block, at that point you can't start talking about it as if you're a small independent YouTuber. Like, you have a building with your name on it and 40 members of staff.
Oh, but yes, my entry to the battle this week, if it were, I like to a lot of the time just pick Wiki articles where I'm not going to read much of the Wiki entry. It's just a jumping off point,
which is the point,
to talk about the topic at large. But I figured, because a lot of people on my social media this week have been sharing their lovely Spotify Wrapped, Karl.
I can't do mine this year because I had to get rid of it.
Oh, you're on like YouTube Music or something now?
Yeah, so I never really watch YouTube. Like, I'm on it, and that's why I don't watch it. I have like a few series that I'll keep up with, but I always do like my binge. But like Death Battle, I'll like wait 3 months, just watch like 5 in a row. When I'm like having a pizza or something. Most of the time, as you probably tell from the podcast, just watch a lot of bad TV. But then Spotify raised its price to be £1 cheaper than YouTube Premium, £1 less than YouTube Premium. And well, I'll get YouTube Premium. Then at least
you get no ads and you get YouTube Music, and it makes sense.
It's the same. And then as well on YouTube Music, was those songs, like stuff gets removed from Spotify all the time. Do you know what it doesn't get removed from? Fucking YouTube. Like, you're not removing, like, here's the thing, like when I went to Japan and I got like, I downloaded the top 100 in Japan on Spotify. So let's listen to the music that's popular here. Came back, every single song was blocked in Spotify. They're not blocked on YouTube, I'll tell you that. There's always a lyric video from someone with an anime profile photo who has that song
there. True. It's true, and one of my top ones, as you mentioned, Japan. One of my top 3 artists of the year, of course, is Baby Metal.
Baby Metal, good band. Didn't they release a new album this year? Or new single at least?
It was it this year or was it last year? Metal Galaxy, I think it was called. Like, I think it was this year.
Yeah, one of my favourite bands just started releasing new music out of nowhere. Like Dragon Force just dropped a new song. So we've got a new album based on Legend of Zelda. It's like, what?
That's why I've seen like them doing quite a lot of interviews on TikTok and stuff like that. Yeah.
So there's a Legend of Zelda themed Dragon Force song out there, Lucas. So our two loves combined.
Check that out. But yeah, I just figured we could talk about like Spotify itself and like the fact that yes, there are other audio streaming services. You got like your it's Apple Music now instead of iTunes. Has been for a long time, I'm sure.
Yeah,
I'm just not in that Apple ecosystem.
And here's my like hot take of like, I've only just got YouTube Premium, and listening to the music is fine. It's like it's decent. It's annoying because obviously I had like a massive. I think I listen to music all the time.
Yeah.
My Spotify playlist was like 4,000 songs long, and I just went, I can't do it. I can't pay as much as it's just they keep raising the price and then adding shit I don't want. Of like, they raise the price and justify saying now there's ebooks. It's like, I'm not listening to Spotify for fucking ebooks. And it's not even like good ones. It's not like they teamed up with Audible. It's like, no, our exclusive ebooks. It's like, I don't care. Like, let me cap. And then as well, they do this annoying thing of they keep adding stuff you don't want. Of like you can no longer go, I just want to listen to my playlist in order or shuffle. Now they have smart shuffle. And Smart Shuffle, every time you press it, it takes like 3 seconds to load in. Because Smart Shuffle will start randomly shuffling in songs we think you'll like.
And it's like, I don't want any of this like random AI bullshit. I made a playlist. I want to listen to it.
And you can. But that's the thing. If you want to like, okay, I'll shuffle. Okay, I like this song. I remember like it's a nice list of songs. I'll click shuffle again. No, now you got Smart Shuffle on. And then because it's Smart Shuffle, because instead of my playlist was downloaded, Lucas, but Smart Shuffle songs aren't. So if you're on a train, randomly you'll be listening to like, your smart, you don't know you've got Smart Shuffle on, it won't load the next song and your Apple crash. And then you got to reboot Spotify again and it disconnects from your headphones and it plays out loud on the train. You're like, just let me listen to the music.
Yeah, it's getting more and more complex over time when ostensibly it doesn't need to, but they need to do all this extra stuff to justify the price raises. Which
is the annoying thing about it, of just, I absolutely fucking hate it. And do you have a term for it?
I mean, yeah, I'm sure there is. I don't know what the term is, but...
The term is enshittification. And it is a term coined by Cory Doctorow in November 2022. And the idea is that because... the basic idea is an internet service, or just a service in general, mostly like on the internet, of it can, once it's reached a certain point... Actually, no, I'll read out his definition because it's going to do it way better.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Here is how platforms die. First, they are good to their users. Then they abuse their users to make things better for their business customers. Finally, they abuse those business customers to claw back all the value for themselves. Then they die. I call this enshittification, and it's a seemingly inevitable consequence arising from a combination of the ease of changing how a platform allocates value, combined with the nature of a two-sided market, where a platform sits between buyers and sellers, hold each hostage to the other, raking off an ever larger share of the value that passes between them. And like Spotify is a good example of that of great service for people. It's like every song you ever wanted in one thing pays £5 a month. And then they get investment because obviously a lot of people sign up because that's a good idea. And then they have to start pleasing their investors, which pisses off the fans. And then they have to, then they realize, well, we want to get more money. So then they start pissing off investors by piecemealing stuff out. And then just you end up with everyone being like, fuck Spotify.
Yeah, and it is, Spotify and Netflix, because they were like early parts of the streaming game.
Netflix, another example,
They are the ones where you see it happening real time now. Where it's like, yeah, at the moment, you are seeing a lot of people kind of get to that tipping point with Spotify and Netflix of like, no, you know what, I'm done. You've raised your prices one too many times, and I'm done.
That's the thing as well. This year, I got rid of Netflix as well, because I just looked and went, fuck this.
Sorry, yeah, I muted my mic and it didn't unmute. But yeah, it's just, it says here, Spotify is an Swedish audio streaming and media services provider founded on 23rd of April 2006 by Daniel Ek and Martin Lorentzen.
That's kind of a shame, though, because Sweden's so big in music. You ever seen, like, I think we talked before about how basically every number one hit in the past 30 years came from Sweden?
Is it just because of ABBA?
Well, ABBA's like a good example of like how...
And the like studio that the ABBA people work at, right?
Something like that. It's just more just for some reason, like Swedish people are really good at writing pop hits. Like Swedish like sensibilities are really align with ours, and it's like, I think the story I told before is like, there's an interview with a guy who basically wrote everything. I think it's called like This Is Pop, and he's like in a heavy metal band in Sweden, and he says, oh, so what are your credits? Well, there's my heavy metal band. I also wrote a load of Pink songs. I'm like, what? I was like, yeah, so do the na 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 na, we're going to start a fight. That was just like a lick he'd do on stage in his band. That'd be a fun pop song if you replaced it, instead of like having it on a metal guitar, have it on like, a bass. And there's a really great bit of like unintended, I think it must be on purpose, where it's like really, really like just good editing and a dunk on Pink, where the guy says, well, yeah, I did that. And they ask him, so you wrote the song? No, Pink wrote the song, because she heard that and said she's going to write the lyrics. She had the perfect lyrics to go along with that lick. And it smash cuts to Pink going, na 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 na. And it's like, that's not lyrics. That's just her singing along to the lick that he wrote. And it's one of those, that has to be on purpose, right?
I mean, in terms of like the way you've described it, because you've mentioned this once before, like
it's so funny.
The way that it's like edited of just like smash cut to her, just go na 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 na. It's like, and you know what? Like, I've got no grief with Pink, and I think she's one of the better like pop rock stars. But yeah, it's just that song is just half of it is like na 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 na.
It's the opening lick is the part of the song everyone remembers, and it's this Swedish heavy metal dude like made it, and he just works for a company that basically does that. They just write licks and lyrics, and they say like, I think it was "Hit Me Baby One More Time." Like they wrote that, and they asked like the guy who wrote it, like, what does it mean? He goes, I don't know. I thought he meant talking on the phone. So it was supposed to be "Hit Me Up, Baby, One More Time."
Right, yeah.
But then they just made it "Hit Me, Baby, One More Time"
because it fits a bit. It's a bit snappier,
and they didn't understand like American vernacular. Of like, we thought that meant talking on the phone. It's like, so is that what it means? Like, yeah, but no one thought it meant that. And Britney Spears,
not the meaning that it ended up with.
No,
yeah, it's one of those weird things of like people always complain about, like, oh, but like manufactured music and all this. And
it always has been.
Like, but like so much of music is someone writing something for someone else, or someone singing something for like someone else. Even like sometimes you find that like in pop a lot of the time it might be that you thought that this was this person. It's not even sung by them.
Yeah,
it's like literally not even recorded by them. Most of the time it's not written by them.
Yeah, I remember that being a whole issue with like Taylor Swift, where Taylor Swift insists that she writes her own music, and she does write a lot of her own music, but she has a lot of help. Yeah. And the example that's used is the song. Oh, I think it's like "Take It Off." I think.
Right. Okay.
Or "Shake It Off." Sorry.
Oh, "Shake It Off." Okay.
"Shake It Off," which I think originally was supposed to be "Take It Off," and Taylor Swift came in and changed it to "Shake It Off."
And therefore she gets writing credits
because she did write a word. So she gets like half the writing credit for it. And it's like that's a very popular thing in the industry. It's known as write a word, get a third. And a lot of artists, they like the idea that they write their own songs, and a lot do, and a lot don't. And a lot ride the line of what is being written and what isn't.
Swifties, don't come after us.
That's the problem as well, yeah.
That like Taylor Swift doesn't write her own music. Like she does, she just doesn't do it alone.
Yeah, and why would you? When you are like a multi-billionaire and your dad owns a bank.
It's similar to kind of like the story about Billie Eilish when she was first pervasive.
That's so funny.
And it was like this first album was just these downtrodden brother and sister that made it all in their bedroom, and it's like the bedroom of a multi-billion-dollar producer, maybe.
Yeah, where she says like, "Oh yeah," because people at Billie Eilish like. She claimed that, I just wrote these songs in my bedroom and my brother produced them on a laptop in his bedroom. It's like, oh, you mean your brother, the award-winning producer? By bedroom, do you mean this studio in his house? Owned by your multi-millionaire parents?
And isn't their dad in the music industry as well?
Of course he is, yeah.
Yeah.
How do you think he was like, my daughter wrote a song, put it on the radio?
Yeah, and it's like, oh no, it's just a brother and sister making music in the bedroom with a laptop, and like this smash hit success came out of it. It's like, fuck off, it?
You're the only one of those that's actually like legit. And he's like, I don't like the guy's music, but the guy himself seems really cool. And it's Post Malone. It's like when he was Post Malone, when he was pre-Malone, like he literally he was a SoundCloud rapper, and one day he woke up and just had like 3 million streams on SoundCloud.
And like, as you say, he just seems like a chill dude who wants to like
play Magic,
use his millions to buy Magic the Gathering cards.
I love that picture of him getting like that really rare Magic the Gathering card.
The One Ring,
He's a huge fucking nerd, and he got it signed by like Elijah Wood. Like, I don't like the guy's music, but he seems really chill.
He's, at least right now on the internet as we talk, he is known as like one of like the nicest people in music, kind of thing.
It's just that thing of like, it's same as like who's that other dude? The guy who always makes fun of himself for being like really ugly. I'm not saying that, but like, that's his shtick.
That's a shtick, yeah. I can't remember who you're thinking of.
He's the really good singer, isn't he?
Off the top of my head, I can't remember who.
I'm not too into pop music. That's the thing. Spotify keeps trying to force it down on me. Like, I'm not listening to Ed Sheeran. I'm not listening to Drake. Fuck off.
It is funny as well. Of like, I recently saw, not in the last year or two, like, Taylor Swift grew up on a humble farm. Here's her farmhouse, and it's like this massive mansion.
It's like the Kid Rock one, where Kid Rock's like, yeah, you know what? I like grew up. He puts himself forward as like, a man of the people, like hillbilly, and he's like, I think Kid Rock's actual name should just tell you everything.
Oh, is it one of those?
His kid name is Robert James Ritchie.
He's Richie Rich.
And he's like, the house he grew up on was like, it wasn't a house, it was an estate.
Yeah.
And that's just the thing with pop music, isn't it? They're all like,
It is, and like, you know, it's one of those of like...
It's Louis Capaldi as well, the guy I was thinking of. Like, he seems really down. Like, he still shops in like Lidl and stuff.
Yeah. I love the fact that like he when I think his last time his like album came out and he did really well, and he put out like a TikTok of like, oh, thanks, you're all suckers for buying my music. Like, I'm gonna go cry away my tears with all my money. And it's like, yes, Lewis, go on. Some proper British humour going on.
That's the one.
But yeah, going back to Spotify, it's like, I thought, you know, we could talk about it, because it did, as I say, with the help of... It
changed the music industry, yeah.
But with the help of, like, iTunes and stuff at the time, like, they all completely changed how we listen to music.
Yeah, I think iTunes, though, because it was always locked behind the Apple ecosystem.
Yeah.
Whereas Spotify, you could have, it was like Netflix, wasn't it? Like, anyone could get Netflix. It wasn't locked behind a particular system or anything.
That's the thing. I don't want to make it seem as though Spotify came out of nowhere and like it went from CDs to Spotify. There was obviously a track along the way where iTunes kind of made those first stepping stones, and then there was all
and then there was
Napster and all that shit as well.
But it's just Spotify was it's similar like Netflix of like where just it was this one thing where it was pitched out as just, do you like music? Yeah, pay us like $5 a month every song you can think of. Not every song.
Like, listen for free, because it says here there's over 590 million monthly active users. This is September 2023, the stats are from. And it includes 226 million paying subscribers, which means over half of the people who listen to Spotify are listening free with advertisements.
Yeah, and I think I've got to give a shout out to the tweet that like sent my site into orbit recently. Just some guy was like just tweeting out and he's like, hey, yeah, I pulled up some like a car full of girls looking real cute. So, and I thought I was thinking like I was a right baller. So I pulled up alongside and wound down my window. My songs are playing. I'm looking good. Just had a haircut, feeling like really good in myself. Then the Spotify ad started playing, and the girls just drove off. And it's like, oh no. It's obviously like, if you can't afford it, it's just that thing of though, just like you thinking you're real cool and just like
rolling up in this nice fancy car, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, if you want Spotify without adverts, you can like pay now.
And it's just the fact is, it is free.
Yes,
and I know people complain about.
It continues to be to this day. Like, I don't know how bad the advertising has got, because back 10 years ago when I was on the free one, it was like, listen to like 3, 4, 5 songs and you get a 30-second advert.
I think it is quite bad now, but the thing is though, people think it's worth it, and it's really funny.
It's free. It's still free.
Isn't it weird? Yeah. Isn't it weird how something can be free and like it's fun about adverts and people get annoyed about that?
I mean,
like, just give me it for free.
That's like what I don't get is when Netflix is like, we're gonna do a paid with ads tier. It's like,
no, fuck off.
No, pay or free with ads.
That's what I uninstalled. I got rid of my subscription when they announced that of like, you don't respect my time. It's like, make it free with ads or paid without.
Yeah.
Fuck off. Like that is the deal. That's the deal. We all agree to that deal.
Yeah, and people are okay with that deal because Spotify has lasted on that.
Majority of their users use the free service, and I guarantee you the people who use the free service are probably more profitable than those who don't.
And it
like
even
to Spotify.
Limited control with the freemium service. Features such as offline listening, commercial-free listening offered via paid subscriptions. Because there's a lot of times where like you just have. It's been a long time since I've been on free Spotify, so like people in the comments let us know exactly how it works nowadays. But like, I vaguely remember being like, if you want to select your songs, then go and pay for Spotify like premium, and it's like, oh okay. So I think it was just like you picked like playlists, and you could shuffle a playlist or something, and maybe you could add like 1 or 2 songs to your queue, but not more than that.
The way I always read it is it's like the radio. Like, you can listen to the radio for free and you'll have ads, or you can buy a CD and listen to the songs in any order that you choose. That's like, and I always felt like Spotify was a natural extension of that agreement where, similar like Netflix, of like, you can watch TV and just TV's there and you'll have ads and you watch what we want when we say, or you could pay a little bit of extra and go out and buy the DVDs or what have you and watch what you want when you want.
And it does say here, talking about the fact that, like, obviously, Spotify, in terms of, reputation for what it does for artists is like, well,
not great.
Spotify means that like we get no revenue because album sales have dropped off a fucking cliff because, of course, it makes a lot of sense. It's like, do you want to go buy one album with 11 songs on it for a tenner, or do you want to spend £10 a month to listen to a catalogue of nearly every artist on Earth?
And the split for artists and stuff is not very good, and there is that breakdown online of like various streaming services, and I think Tidal does pay the best, but fuck Tidal, because I remember when it was announced and it was like Jay-Z and Beyonce and Kanye West going, finally musicians are going to get their fair split, and it's like, okay, billionaire Jay-Z who's on the board of Apple.
Wasn't it also that they only invited exclusive artists onto their platform
friends
as well?
Their friends.
Yeah. But it doesn't sound good when they say their friends, Karl. It's exclusive artists. But yeah, it says, unlike physical or download sales, which pay artists a fixed price per song or album sold, Spotify pays royalties based on the number of artist streams as a proportion of total songs streamed. It distributes approximately 70% of its total revenue to its rights holders, who then pay artists based on individual agreements.
And that's the problem there. Like
the
70%,
middleman.
Yeah, 70% is a good cut. Like, people wondering, like, YouTube, the split we get from YouTube, it's 55% for creators, 45% for YouTube. And that's good. That's good in the industry. Like, considering that YouTube takes all of the risk, all the hosting costs, and they don't take the lion's share. The fact that Spotify takes 30% is really good. It's the fact that the rights holders of that 70% probably take 95% of that 75%.
And it's why you see artists who have a lot of money and a lot of power, like Taylor Swift, going around and making like the new production versions of her albums one by one, so that then she can put those on Spotify and get the actual cut she deserves. Yeah,
the fact that like a billionaire like Taylor Swift can't afford to buy her own rights back, I think that speaks to how valuable, like, intellectual property can be. Of like that Taylor Swift, the biggest artist on planet Earth right now, cannot afford to buy her own back catalogue.
Think about the other one. The other example of this is like
Michael Jackson.
Michael Jackson bought out the Beatles, and Paul McCartney apparently just joked to him one day, is like, oh, do you know what you should do as an investment? Is like buy music rights. And he went, okay, I'll buy yours. And they laughed it off, and then Paul McCartney found out he fucking did it and was like...
Yeah, Michael Jackson just bought the rights to their back catalogue. So that's why I think it was, speaking of Apple, I think it was the Beatles, their record label was called like Apple Recording or something like that.
Something along those lines.
And it was
Apple in some way, yeah.
And there was this weird thing between Apple, the company, and then this Apple thing that owned the rights to the Beatles, where they weren't allowed to be on Apple Music or iTunes for years because Michael Jackson owned it. And then Michael Jackson's estate owned it, and then is it someone who owns the rights to the Beatles now? That's probably like a topic for another day, isn't it? Because that alone, just the rights,
that's a story in itself.
Well, the fact that Paul McCartney doesn't own the rights to his own, like Paul McCartney doesn't own the rights to his own songs. The single most successful band in the history of planet Earth doesn't own the rights, besides ABBA. Because obviously ABBA's always going to be the king.
I mean, we'd have to look into statistics and stuff, because like Beatles were, I think, a much bigger band in terms of popularity, but like ABBA have just got this amazing catalogue of number ones because
it's the longevity of ABBA.
Swedish people writing music.
Yeah, but it's fascinating, isn't it? And then you think, like, if you're on the lower end of that, the fuck are you going to do? And then you always get that thing like, why do people sign these contracts? Then it's because the only way to get into the industry until very, very recently was to sign with these companies.
Yeah, it was literally what, 5-10 years ago, that was your only option. Like,
the only way to get a song on the radio was to have a record label who would go talk to the... Like, you couldn't just go into the radio with, like... Well, you could to smaller ones, I guess, with, like, a copy of your song, and they might play it, but to get onto, like, when, like, what, I think it's, like, 70% of all the radio stations of the United States are owned by, like, 3 companies.
Well, it's the same over here with Capital, isn't it?
Yeah. Like, they own all the radios. It's like the only way to get any radio airplay was to sign with these companies, and because they held all the cards, they made you sign incredibly disadvantageous deals that you couldn't get yourself out of. And like that's the thing, Taylor Swift signed one of these, and her dad owns a bank. Oh no, sorry, he owns an investment company. Literally owns an investment company. It's called like Swift Capital or something like that. And that's the reason why Taylor Swift did not buy into NFTs, because her dad's an investment banker and went, "That's a stupid idea. Why would you do that?"
Yeah, and
And she still signed one of these deals because she knew it's the only way to make any money.
Yeah, when, as you say, the examples of two of the biggest artists on earth, like Paul McCartney and Taylor Swift, neither of them have been able to buy those music distribution rights.
Because you might think, well, surely like she could just offer like $200 million and that'd be enough. It's like, well, no, because think about how many streams of Taylor Swift songs. Like, it's like when like Disney bought Star Wars and they said we're going to buy it for $4 billion. Be like, that seems like a lot of money for Star Wars, because in their head they're thinking, well, what, there's been like
each movie makes like $1 billion. That seems a bit silly.
Yeah, it's like, oh, but they released like there's 6 Star Wars movies. How much is it really worth? It's like, are you really asking how much money all of Star Wars in totality earns? It's worth well more than $4 billion. The problem is like no one on earth could have paid what it's actually worth.
Yeah, exactly. And think about immediately how much of Disneyland became filled with like merch that was Star Wars stuff. And all of those merch, like the merch adds up. The merch alone, fast.
It's fascinating to think about. Like that Star Wars was probably worth like 10 times what Disney paid for it, but there's no one on earth going to pay $40 billion for it. And if you paid $40 billion for it, like that's more money than you could ever conceivably spend in a lifetime. So you might as well give $4
billion's a fucking lot.
It is, yeah. And George Lucas was already a billionaire when they paid him. From Star Wars, because he owns Star Wars and ILM.
And merch rights specifically as well. But yeah, it's like, I did find it funny because Weird Al was like, because I don't know if you've seen anyone's like, on Spotify Rap this year, they did a thing where if you appear in the top 5 of an artist, like, I got a little video from Baby Metal, like, oh, we were in your top 5. Thank you for listening to us this year.
Oh, that's cute. I kind of wish I'd kept my Spotify, because I listen to it all the time. It's just I got rid of it when they raised the price like 4 months ago. There's a girl I've been talking to on Tinder, and she's like, let me see your Spotify Wraps. Like, I don't have one, I got rid of it. And she stopped talking to me, Lucas. She stopped talking to me.
No. Oh, that's grim. I'm sorry.
Because obviously it's one of those things, like, it's such a big deal. People love their Spotify. And I love my Spotify Wrapped. When it comes like, here's the artist you've listened to this year. I just couldn't justify to myself paying that much for something when, like, YouTube Premium is literally £1 more. And, like, you know, just... I get basically the same thing, but I now have to spend like months rebuilding my playlist or whatever. But
you get essentially a similar thing, and also you get to watch YouTube without ads and download and stuff like that. You get all of the YouTube perks on top of it.
Which is never really a big deal for me, but it's just one of those things that it's £1 more. And when I do watch, for example, like Rips Arena, like, you know, who I've worked with in the past, like when I watch his videos, I know he gets a better cut.
You get the same cut as watching the ads, but the thing is, a lot of people will skip the ads. Yeah. And if you skip the ads, then you don't get money for skipping the ads, or you get less of a cut or something. So, yeah, you do get more out of YouTube Premium. But on the face of it, if you actually watch through every ad viewers give the same amount as premium viewers. But yeah, it's just one of those things of like Weird Al popped up on people's top 5. And he's like, oh, hey, I got like 15 billion listens this year, or whatever it was. I don't know, X million amount of listens.
It's probably some crazy amount, yeah.
That's great. Thanks for listening to so many of my songs. I've done the maths, and that adds up to roughly about $12 for me. So you've bought my sandwich for the day. So thanks, everyone. You've bought me a sandwich today for listening to my music.
The fact they let him record that and put it up on their thing, which is just highlighting how bad the split. But I guess Spotify, they can always say, well, technically, we give artists 70%.
It's not them.
It's not our fault. It's like if artists who own the rights to their own music will get 70% of what we earn. But it's just that virtually all artists on Earth are locked into this thankfully dying, very predatory system that takes the lion's share of their earnings. That's not our fault. And it's not. It's like the same reason like when I said I went to Japan and I came back and all the rights, I couldn't listen to any music anymore. It's like, that's not Spotify's fault. That's the rights holders to that music saying we don't want people outside of Japan listening to it. I'm sure the artists don't give a shit.
It's the way the platform is being used by the distributors.
Yes, it's like frustrating me. Like this year when like I think the guitarist, something for X Japan died. Oh no! Let's go listen to some X Japan music on Spotify. Blots in your country. It's like, what?
I remember.
I'm sure the band loves that they can't make any money.
Yeah. I know that, like, for a long time, I think it was all of the Square Enix soundtracks for like Final Fantasy and stuff.
Video game soundtracks are a nightmare.
Like, all of them were completely fully catalogued on Spotify in Japan.
Yep.
And, like, it's all on Spotify, it's all there, but if you're not stood in Japan, you can't listen to any of it. And I think they've changed that now, but, like, that was the case for years, I believe.
And that's when someone's like, well, I just illegally download my stuff for free. It's like, well, all you're doing really is you're not punishing the artist there, because that's how the companies justify these practices. It's like, it's a system that, like, you know, it's a fucked up system. There's no real way to solve it besides fundamental shift.
You know, it's one of those things as well, that a lot of people that moved to Spotify from, you know, listening on an iPod or buying albums or whatever, they weren't buying any songs.
No, it's always the thing, isn't it? People say, well,
it combated a lot of piracy, sure.
And that's what people always say, isn't it? Like, this is why people pirate. And the people who say that don't fucking pay for anything anyway. Mm-hmm. I've never met a person who justifies their piracy who actually bought things. Because that's like, when's the last DVD you bought? Because, well, I don't buy DVD, I download them all for free.
Yeah.
It's like, cool.
I went from, oh, well, I can't afford to pay for a bunch of music, but I want to listen to music. So guess what? As a kid, I was all over fucking LimeWire and all that shit, downloading thousands of songs to put on my iPod, and didn't pay a penny for any of it. And then when Spotify comes along, it's like, well, I can listen to it all for free without the fuss of downloading it all and cataloguing it all myself. And then that means, I guess, like, they are earning some money through advertisement, and then eventually I became a paid subscriber and have been for like fucking 10 years or something. And it's like, well, surely every person giving a small amount of money to an artist is still better than, like, me never putting any money into the ecosystem anyway.
Which itself was better than the predatory. It's that thing of, like, the system we had before where it's like, you listen to what we listen to, says record companies too. Mm-hmm. Now it's on Spotify, and hopefully it continues to get better, because, like, more and more people are becoming more socially aware, and they're becoming more aware of these issues, especially now that there's no such thing as, like, this weird overruling, like, creator class. Like art, you still get your mega artists, like your Taylor Swifts, your Tom Cruises and stuff, but, like, thanks to YouTube and TikTok and all these, like, you know, just basically removing that wall so people can see that artists are people. And there's, like, a closer connection to them, like, you know, the barrier to entry,
social relationships.
But the barrier to entry into this world has been lowered, and as a result, the ability to earn money from it is being shifted.
And also, I think, you know, we've dunked on her a little bit in this podcast, but, like, the things that Taylor Swift is doing, and, you know,
buying her own music,
obviously doing the things that she's been able to do. Not most artists are not successful and rich enough to be able to do it, but
it raises awareness.
She's creating a massive precedent.
Yeah, it raises awareness as well of, like, when people, why is Taylor Swift re-releasing her own music? She doesn't own the rights to it. And, like, wait, Taylor Swift doesn't own the rights to the album called Taylor Swift? Yeah, isn't that fucked up? Yes, it is. This is a system that should probably be changed.
Exactly, yeah.
And just newer artists are aware of that, and that's why you're getting, like, a lot more indie labels and people just self-publishing. It's like the thing like authors. Authors can self-publish, like content creators, like we can publish our stuff, but we don't need a service. Like, obviously, we are on a podcast service, but
we are literally being listened to people by, you know, on Spotify right now.
But we're able to produce and upload this stuff without a middleman that takes a cut. We technically, I guess that's the thing, Spotify is a middleman, but it's not. We're not locked into a predatory agreement like artists in the past would be.
Yeah, in terms of, like, you know, okay, well, yeah, you could put all your music, say, if you were an artist, on YouTube, and then all of, like, the views on YouTube are, like, your own, but then you're probably going to be way less successful than somebody who has their music on Spotify or Apple Music or whatever.
I'll still never forget, though, that when we had the old podcast, that guy who messaged you saying, hey, can you upload every podcast to Google Drive and let me download it? And just didn't see what it's like. That's going to take a lot of time and effort. And he goes, why?
It's like, it's almost as if I have to spend hours uploading. I'm paying for enough Google Drive space to upload them all as well.
Which is...
And it's like, you want me to do all this? I'm paying for Google Drive, like, extra space and stuff for your personal use only.
Which is an unfortunate downside of having greater access to music, is that people now believe it's even mentioned in the download this song by, I think it's DJ Jared, I think it is. It's an old pop punk song, actually years old now, but one of the lines that always stuck out to me is, music was a product, now it is a service. That's like one of the lyrics in the song about like why you should download music, of like record companies are like, there's this zeitgeist shift. But like, because music is no longer a product, it's a service, and when access to a service gets rescinded, people tend to respond poorly. Like, look at like when people go to McDonald's and the service is slow. How they feel entitled to speak to the people behind the counter because it is a service that is being denied to them. Same thing with like artists, isn't it? Of like, we're content creators, we've had it all the time. Like, hey, I don't feel like streaming tonight. Like, no one's going to go to Tom Cruise and say like, your movie's not playing in the theatre and yell at Tom Cruise. Mm-hmm. But they feel compelled to do it because now the barrier has been removed. The side effect is that people feel they can air their grievances directly to the creator.
Yeah.
Which is...
And, that's part of being a person online and being a creator, and that's we all have to find our own ways of dealing with it and our own limits of like how much people can access us and stuff. And it's like, we literally do look at the comments on these channels and stuff, mainly for moderation purposes, but I'll respond to a few every now and then and like make sure that, we're trying to encourage a nice comment section and community. And it's like, but sometimes you just see people be like, we'll do this next. Yeah,
well, that's an aspect of, one of these, an interesting thing of like, yes, it is better in the sense that like, just it leads to a more egalitarian approach to like music and profit sharing. But then there's this inadvertent side effect is, well, now access to artists and creators is a lot easier.
Mm-hmm. And then, obviously the big downside to the lack of payment of Spotify for consumers, at least, talking about like being an avid listener, is that now concerts and merchandise have skyrocketed in price.
Well, that's partly to do with Ticketmaster, because
a lot of it is because they've got that weird monopoly on the
everything
on the ticket services and stuff. So part of it is due to Ticketmaster, but even before like that controversy came around, a lot of it was, well, we're losing money because we're not getting album sales anymore. So what do? Well, every t-shirt's got to sell for £40 now. Every ticket's got to be triple the price.
But again, that kind of makes sense. I remember, again, we'll use Taylor Swift. She's a good example because she's like the biggest artist in the world.
Yeah,
like,
she's literally the most famous person in the world right now and is a musician. Like, it makes sense to talk.
It was like tickets to her show were going for like $3,000-4,000. People are like, that's a crazy amount of money. And you think, well, her album streams got like 8 million streams in a day, for example. It's probably more than that. Like, she gets millions and millions. Yeah. She has literally tens, if not hundreds of millions of people who want to go watch on stage. The biggest concert arenas on earth can only hold like 50 to 100,000 people. Mm-hmm. She could literally do a sellout show every single night of the year for a year straight and wouldn't even like, and every person who could
be like a dent in the armor.
It would not. No,
people want to see her,
and she physically could not do that. She can only be on tour, on stage for so long.
It takes a toll on people, and she does, from the looks of it, do it a lot. They look like high energy, performances with a shit ton of costume changes, loads of choreography. Mm-hmm. Like, it must take a massive toll on her doing it day in and out.
And it's that thing. Everyone's like, how much would you sell for a ticket to that? Right? And that's the thing of like, if you've got 1 million people trying to like buy tickets for an event where there's 10,000, the price it's like bidding thing, isn't it? It's like, of course it's going to go higher, and like you can't really blame her for putting the prices that high because.
And also, she's not putting the prices that high. Ticketmaster are as well, and then people are scalping.
But then you think about how much is her time worth? Like, she can literally go sit at home and just look at her phone, and just sitting there doing nothing probably earns her like $1,000 a minute. So her time is probably worth that much money.
She can like change the viewing numbers of NFL games by dating a guy in the NFL.
I saw that. Yeah, have you seen that?
Like people are like blown up about the NFL because Taylor Swift was there.
Yeah, but it's just one of those things, isn't it? Of it's really hard to decide. Like, okay, on one hand, I do agree. Yeah, her time is worth a lot of money. She's very, very popular. Mm-hmm. But as someone who likes watching music shows, it's a bad precedent that you can charge this much.
In terms of being a consumer,
yeah,
it's one of the big downsides to being like a person who likes to go to concerts is like, it becomes like almost unfeasible to go to multiple concerts a year like I used to.
Mm-hmm. And that's the problem, isn't it? Of like, on one, well, we always talk about stuff like this. Like, so we can see it from the point of view of a consumer. We can also see it from the point of view of a creator, and it's really difficult. Like, there probably is a middle ground there that's going to please nobody.
Yeah,
and then you think of it from the point of view of like, well, if I was like, you know, a Taylor Swift, and it's like someone just put some numbers in front of me, because I don't imagine she's making this. It's probably just put a graph in front of her and say, if you do this, you'll make this much money, or you could do this and you'll make less. It's like, well, I'll do that one then.
And you know, I do think like I respect her in that sense of like, yes, I'm sure she has a bunch of people like showing her graphs and charts and going, just do this thing. But she is very proactive in terms of, you know, say for example, like actively talking against Donald Trump.
Yeah, so you could not pay me enough money to be in the situation that she. Like, the thing is, the probably amount of money you have to pay me would be how much she's worth. Yeah. Can you imagine, like, just the level of just like self-control you have to have over when you know literally everything you're going to do ever is going to be catalogued and commented upon. Like, she went on the beach. Like she can't even go out with a boyfriend. There's no wonder she's dating a fucking NFL player. Like, she needs someone to get through the crowds.
just
go to
fucking carry her through.
Imagine, like,
it's, you know, I can't imagine like the pressures of living a life like that where you cannot exist anymore in public. Like, she can't. She just can't be in public anymore.
It's like, just imagine not being able to go for a shit. Imagine if you're out in public and you just want to go for a shit. And you can't do that.
I mean, to be fair, you could just like buy the limousine that you're like getting carried around in and just shit in there.
You probably could, yeah.
You've got enough money.
Which is probably besides the point from Spotify. But yeah, it's an interesting like conversation. The fact that we're in like this weird like transitionary period where like a lot of the power is being handed back to like the creators who make the content. Because for many years it was like, you know, these big companies, and they're obviously very desperately trying to claw back and hold on to what they can, as evidenced by the fact massive artists literally cannot buy their own back catalogues back because they know that the instant they sell that, they're never getting it back. Something like Marvel, isn't it? Of like, why they had to buy Fox. They had to buy Fox to get the X-Men back because they knew, why would we give you this back? Why would we ever give you this back? You cannot offer us enough money, so I will buy you then. Yeah.
And like, obviously, I guess like Sony, a bigger company than that, and like,
you're not buying Sony. Like, you are not buying fucking Sony.
It's like, maybe they have the money to, but it doesn't look like Sony are in a position where they want to sell.
Why would you?
Whereas Fox they were scrambling a little bit from the looks of it, where like, and they're just sitting there going, cool, we own Spider-Man, how much are you going to pay us?
Yep. It's like, oh, sell us it back for $1 billion. It's like, no, the movies make that.
It makes way more sense for them to sit on the IP and ownership of Spider-Man and let it get rented out and partnerships being made as they make like more $1 billion on Morbius,
which sucks, and I hate it. And and it's annoying, but that's the system that's in place, and it sucks, and I hate it. And it's nice that I know the transition is happening. It's happening very slowly because the people who are gonna not even lose money, not lose all the money, just lose a little bit. They don't want to lose that little bit of money, and they're going to fight tooth and nail to stop it from happening. And it's annoying as well because like Spotify was like a dent in that system, and then it got bought. And presumably you can look at it, it's like, is Spotify solely owned anymore, or is it I bet it's part of another company.
I'm sure it's been
someone must have bought Spotify. Unless it got big enough, quick enough where they couldn't get bought out. So I think there's only a couple of handfuls of examples I can think of.
It's a public business.
So it's publicly traded.
And currently, Daniel Ek and Martin Lawrenson are the chairman and CEO and the treasurer. So it looks like
still owned by the same guys.
The creators are still owning it. It's just a publicly traded massive company.
Yeah. Because the only other company I can think of like that is like Valve. Where like Valve is like 100% independently owned by Gabe Newell, and he's worth so much.
Just sitting on like a fucking throne of Steam money.
Like, you are never, and that's the thing. People keep saying, "What should like Epic buy Valve?" It's like, well, they could, but why the fuck would you ever sell it? You've got a complete and total monopoly, and don't have to deal with shareholders telling you what to do.
It's just Gabe Newell getting 30% of every sale as
every
he just,
single
like,
one
sits. sits on his money and like just retires happily, and he's like, yeah,
it's one of those rare examples of someone who just like, okay, I'm like, cause that's the thing. If you only have to look at like Epic and stuff like that, like how much. Like how shitty and insidious stuff is behind the scenes, whereas like Valve's been, well, we take a cut and we host the store for you, done.
I'm sure there's a lot of random shit we don't know about going on behind, but it's the fact that
it's just one guy,
Gabe Newell, for the past 20 years, has basically just like disappeared off the face of the planet, other than like popping up, every now and then. But,
because he doesn't have shareholders to keep happy.
He's walked away and gone, cool, I've got enough money to live for the rest of my life and just be quiet on my own.
Yep, I never have to listen to shareholders. I don't have the enshittification of Valve has very fortunately not happened yet, whereas like almost every other company has. And it sucks because it happens to so many good services. Like Netflix was a great idea. It was perfect. And they had to fucking ruin it. Because they wanted more money than what they had.
Netflix has always been imperfect in the sense that they've been making a loss the entire time.
But the idea was so good. It was such a good idea. It's like, just you pay us $7 a month, gain access to this massive library of old movies that no one gives a shit about anymore, that we bought the rights to. But now companies have realised that old content has value, so they're scraping it all back. There's 15 fucking streaming services that all have their own thing, and
And anyway, we talked for a long time about all this.
Yeah.
I guess, like, I'll put a tweet out of, like, a couple of my highlights of my Spotify rap so that I can put it in the description if people are curious about mine.
Yeah.
But Karl, unfortunately, does not have one.
That's the thing is that I'm so mad because that girl was really fit as well. It's like, God damn it. She just done match with me when I said I don't have Spotify. And I went, fair enough. If that's like...
If that's the line people are going to draw, that's not the person you want to be going.
I guess it's one of those things of like, it was a point to talk about. It's like, oh, do you like music? Yeah, I like music. Do you have Spotify? No, I got rid of it. Well, you don't like music that much.
It's like just as like, but you can listen to my YouTube Premium if you want. It's like a conversation.
Mate, I have never shown my YouTube playlist because it's so messed up. So I was like, all the research that I do, like, I keep getting suggested videos, scenes from The Incredibles. Like, no, I was editing a video on The Incredibles, but because it's on the same account where I've now got all my music coming up, like randomly, like if it goes, oh, suggested on your music playlist, just like a clip from The Incredibles. It's like, no.
I've got a great suggestion for you.
Make a new account.
Like getting clips for edits.
Make a new account.
No, just go to your watch history and press pause watch history.
Okay, that's a good idea. Speaking of which, I need to pop to the bathroom dead quick.
Yeah.
So should we take a break now, pop to the bathroom, and I'll come back in with mine?
Yeah, we will do that, and we'll take a quick break.
I guess just before we continue with mine, I'm going to give some people some pro advice out there, because I do genuinely believe Spotify is a good service. I just got frustrated with... I'm that thing like, I can afford Spotify, Disney Plus, Netflix, like all the streaming services that I need, but just out of principle, and because I can't watch that much content, I always that thing like, I have 2 streaming services at any one time. And I'll flip between, like, I've got Disney Plus and Prime at the moment, because Prime for Christmas. And then in the new year, I'll probably get rid of, like, Disney Plus and go get Crunchyroll again, so I can, like, catch up.
Watch fucking Attack on Titan.
So I can watch Attack on Titan. And then
at least that, I know asking you to watch 1,100 episodes of One Piece is a lot. Just go watch Attack on Titan.
My plan is to wait till My Hero Academia comes out so I can watch all of it in one go. It's just that thing of, like, being proactive with, like, it's... And people always say, well, fuck it, it's £10 a month, but...
It's frugal. It's being frugal.
Pennies make pounds, and one of the things I've always been keen to do is, save money where I can. Like, just £10 here, £10 there, it all adds up. And
I never want to be the kind of person
who says, fuck it, it's only a tenner, yeah.
But those tenors add up to, well, fuck it, it's actually only like £100 a month that I'm spending without needing it.
Yeah, and especially, like, given my background, that just doesn't, I don't like that. And just advice for anyone out there, there are many, many ways to get cheap Spotify. For years, I paid £1 per year for Spotify. If you're a student, they do Spotify Student. If you are a student in the UK, specifically, and maybe in the US as well, but as a student, you get a lot of stuff. That includes, you can get Spotify, you can get Adobe, you can get like a discount card, the NUS card that lets you get free shit from McDonald's. Like, use all of that. Take advantage if you are in NHS, get your blue card, which gives like 5% off everything in the UK. Use it.
It's like, as well, like, just utilising, like, family, quote-unquote, family packages for stream. Like, I would not pay for Disney Plus most of the time. I'd probably buy it in and out.
Yeah, and here's a pro tip.
Me and my family share an account between like 6 of us.
Yeah, and here's a pro tip. You don't need to be family members. You could be friends.
No.
If you've got roommates and you want to put like, 20 quid into a pot each and get like, Disney Plus and Spotify for a year between you all.
Like, that's the thing is, I do it with both like Disney Plus and with my Nintendo Online Plus expansion pack. And it's like, I pay like £8 a year for both of those things because I split it across a bunch of different people.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, same thing we talked about years ago, like Xbox Live, where Xbox Live have the deal of upgrade to Xbox Live Ultimate for £1. Like,
they've gotten rid of that one.
They have, unfortunately. But it's that thing, just always be on the lookout.
People were stacking like 3 years worth of Xbox Live and then upgrading it all for £1 to save like hundreds of quid.
Same thing I did with Spotify. And here's the thing I did is I had a free premium account as a student for 4 years for £1. And what I'd do is before I made my new account, I would just make a playlist of all my favourite songs, make it public, and then the first thing I do in my new account is follow and download that playlist. And then I get the same playlist, all the songs that I like on that playlist, because you just make all your playlists public, make a new account with a new email address, pay the £1 for another year of being a student. Same thing like banks, switch between banks, and like, oh yeah, like new customers get 0% interest rate on all this stuff. Jump between accounts. Mm-hmm. It's in your best interest. Like, no company is ever going to reward your loyalty.
Unfortunately, most companies reward new customers rather than loyal customers.
Like, the way it should be is if you've had Spotify for 10 years, they should give it for £1. Like, every year you get Spotify, the price should go down by £1. Like, if they did that, I would not have deleted my account.
And you'd never take breaks in your subscription.
You wouldn't know. And like, I don't want, and presumably there is like a guy with a graph somewhere who says it's the inshittification of the internet. They need endless growth. It's not about retaining customers. It's always about getting new ones.
And, speaking of making the most of your money, if you have Amazon Prime, that means that you could go to either me or Karl on Twitch and go every month, give us an Amazon Prime subscription.
Yes.
And that's like making the most of your nice Amazon Prime money that you're giving away.
I was thinking just before recording this, I was setting up my my stream alerts. Because like last week, someone just came in and dropped like 20 subs. But on my stream alerts, people know I stream every week on Friday when we're recording this, Metal Gear Rising Revengeance. And all of my stream alerts are voice lines from the game. But when someone dropped like 20 subs in one go, it played the same voice line 20 times. And that doesn't sound very good. So I've just gone down and put in like 15 new voice lines for like everything that can happen.
Speaking of voice lines, people may be able to hear my dogs providing many voice lines in the background.
Who are emotes on your stream, right?
They are indeed. Like, I have some just like free viewer rewards in terms of like if you just watch long enough, you get to just ask for me to play GIFs of my dogs.
Kay's going louder because I can hear him. That's when you know when you can hear Cage, you know he's getting good.
Like, he's going through the voice suppressor on Discord.
Mm-hmm.
So apologies for that picking up on the audio.
Yeah, and here's just a pro tip for any burgeoning creators out there. If you get Amazon Prime, you can subscribe to yourself. Which is what Lucas does, and it means your Prime subscription, because I think every Prime subscription is like £2-3 on Twitch.
So, right? It's like I pay like £8 a month for Amazon Prime, but then when I gift myself a sub on Amazon Prime via Prime Gaming, that gives me £2.50 a month back.
CK degrees.
So technically, I'm saving £2.50 every month by just being on Twitch.
And they're just those things like, just be... it's not against the rules, so get that back. Like, Amazon is never going to reward your loyalty, so why would you be loyal to them?
It just means like I provide myself a voucher every month for money off my own Prime.
Yeah. I am still now. I think is I never thought of that until I said it 5 minutes ago. I'm so annoyed that companies don't do discounts the longer you subscribe.
Oh yeah, that would be a great idea. When you said it, I was like, yeah.
How good an idea would that be? Of like, oh hey, you've been on your Spotify Wrapped, and they said, hey, you've been on Spotify Wrapped for a year. Would you like to now sign a year for another year of Spotify? As you've already been on for a year, you get 20% off. And if you stay on for another year, it'll be 30% off. That'd be such a good way to keep people in the ecosystem. And I'm now annoyed that that's not a thing. That'd be so good.
If you specifically did it as well, where like you've got to keep it at all times, you can't take a break. Like if you lapse your subscription at any point, you reset your rank.
It's like that thing the reason I got rid of it is because I'm just going to wait till next year when they do the thing of like, hey, it's Christmas, get new people in, I'll make a new account. like I always do, I'll get the free 3 months, I'll follow my old account, download all the music again, listen to that, and then when I'm about to quit that 3-month account, they'll say, hey, do you want to stay? We'll give you a year for a tenner. Perfect. I'll go contact my sister, use her student number.
I must have gotten like years worth of free Apple TV at this point from just them being like, oh, you bought this product, here's 6 months worth of Apple TV. And I'm like,
every time.
Cool.
Yep.
Anyway, Karl, you've brought a wiki, not just money-saving advice.
Speaking of Netflix, Lucas, weird today, I thought we'd cover Squid Game. Well, not Squid Game. Squid Game, the challenge.
And I will, straight away just say I have not watched it and I don't plan on because
fuck Netflix
they did
for
not
this.
take the learnings of the actual show. Fuck them. But I did see that it's like, oh, did you know that like red light, green light, the reason that people are all acting real weird in it is because like it actually took 8 hours to record in like 4 degrees weather or something.
It took 9 hours, yeah. So Lucas, just the most basic way you can, what is the original Squid Game TV show largely considered to be a critique of? Like, there's more nuance to it, but what is it largely intended to be a critique of?
Essentially, rich abusing the poor.
Yeah, capitalism.
Yeah.
Did you see that amazing interview with someone from Netflix? And they were saying like, so the Squid Game TV show is largely a critique on capitalism and the exploitation of the poorer classes by those in power. How do you square that in your mind with making a TV show that literally does that? And the guy's like, well, I don't think that was the real message of Squid Game. I think one of the key thrust of a narrative is that people are competitive, and that's what we're like showcasing with the TV show.
Yeah, do you know why they were competitive?
Because they were poor and being exploited.
They were poor and fighting for money to get rid of all the fucking debt they were in so they could live their lives and not be killed.
And I think, because I keep bringing up like bad TV shows on this podcast, and one thing I have mentioned is that I really don't like the idea of quiz shows and game shows and reality TV shows having a big cash prize. I really don't like that because it becomes exploitative at that point where you're not getting people who are taking part for fun. People are taking part because they need to. It's like Squid Game, isn't it? Like no one in the original Squid Game TV show.
Survival.
And it's the same thing of like we talked about The Biggest Loser, where like it can't just be a show about people who are unhealthily overweight trying to lose weight. They have to gamify it, and as a result, it results in very unhealthy things, and people literally putting their life on the line to potentially get a piece of the prize pool.
Yeah, and I want to anyone that watched Squid Game, it's a lot of money, but how much is like 45.6 billion won? And for us over in the UK, it translates to about 28.2 million pounds. So like when you hear billion in Squid Game, it is like it's a hefty amount of money. It's a life-changing amount of money. It's not that you'll become a billionaire. Mm-hmm. It's that you'll have enough money to like, if you now live sensibly, live for the rest of your life.
Yeah, but no. Squid Game, The Challenge, is a 10-episode British reality competition. That's what annoys me. Set in Britain, because our tax rules are a bit looser.
Even though it's like essentially like a load of people from pretty much any English-speaking country all brought together, right?
Well, we can get to that, Lucas, because there's a lot of people on this show who probably shouldn't be on the show. So, it's based on Squid Game, the South Korean drama. The show features 456 players competing for a prize of $4.56 million. And there you can tell. So it's filmed in Britain, it's a British TV show, but it's an American prize pool made by an American production company, funded by Netflix, an American company. The Netflix original was produced as a collaboration between independent television companies Studio Lambert, The Garden, with Studio Lambert leading physical production in the UK. Within 3 days of its release, it became the #1 show on Netflix in 76 countries. And I think there was like a great quote, something from like Disco Elysium, like a video game of all things. That's like, never underestimate the capability of capitalism to, just drain profit from anything, including criticisms of itself. So even a criticism, like the most nakedly transparent criticism of the capitalist system, has been commodified as a tool for capitalism.
Yeah, and you say like, it's from a video game. Like, never forget one of the most like poignant lines in modern history is like,
From Final Fantasy Tactics. I know exactly what you're going to say.
Final Fantasy Tactics of like, if the punishment for a crime is a fine, then it's just a crime for poor people, and not for rich people. And that's like butchering it, but that's the gist.
I think the quote is something like a more truncated version is: if the punishment for a crime is a fine, that crime only exists for the poorer classes.
Right. Yeah.
But anyway, speaking of which, do you care about the games? Here's the thing: this Netflix or this Wikipedia article literally has all 456 people's names on it, which makes me feel like it was written by someone for the show.
I mean, maybe, yeah, and like, yeah, it's one of those things. I've not watched it. I don't plan on.
I don't care.
Fuck that show. But like, I've heard people talk about it on a podcast, and like they were saying that the first two games are like the red light, green light, and then the like a slightly different version of like the one where you get the
cookie one,
pattern out of the Honeycrisp.
Mm-hmm.
But then after that, they like change tact and go for new games.
So I think at this point they should just like run a fucking thresher over them when they're on the field. It won't be any different. So production in June 2022, it was announced that Netflix had given the production a series order, and applications for the series, I should say, open in June 2022, so the same month. With an announcement video on YouTube, Netflix sought contestants from around the world, but mandated that they must be English speaking. And here's the thing as well, because have you seen that it's not just random people competing?
Okay.
Like, so, do you know, like in the show Squid Game, as the series goes on, it becomes abundantly clear that the people behind the scenes making the eponymous Squid Game never really planned for a lot of the people involved to have a chance, right?
Yeah.
Well, a key theme is like the further you go into it, the more you realise. Like the first game, red light, green light. Theoretically, anyone could have made it through that.
Yeah,
it's very difficult to, but theoretically, everyone involved could have made it through that. Second, same for like the honeycomb game. Mm-hmm. Theoretically, every single person taking part in that could have made it through without dying. There was a chance. In theory. And I think, is it Marble Game next, or was it the Tug of War? Well, it was Tug of War next, yes?
It would have been Tug of War, I guess. Like, there might have been even a game in between then.
But either way, like then it moves on to stuff like Tug of War and Marble, where the Tug of War, by definition, 50% of the people can't make it through.
Same with the marbles.
Same with the marbles. Like, it is literally impossible for half the people involved to possibly make it through. Like, it is fundamentally impossible for like that many people to get through. And when we discussed it, I thought that's a really genius, like, again, it's a criticism of capitalism of, initially when, like, you know, the people in charge say, well, anyone can make it to the top, all you have to do is try really hard. If you don't try hard enough, that's why you failed. And that's like red light, green light, of like, you just didn't follow the rules closely enough. You didn't try hard enough. So we're like, the honeycomb game, you didn't concentrate enough. Like, you could have done it if you just took your time and concentrated. Mm-hmm. But then the deeper into the belly of the beast you get, the more obvious it is that it is completely, like, you know, the entire system is like, you know, weighed against you, and they've got their thumb on the scale of like, okay, now 50% of you have to die. The only way to succeed, the only way to get further up into this game is for people to step on the people below you. That is the only way to do it.
There's at least 2 games that do that, which mean at very least only 25%, or at very most only 25% of people could get through, in theory, to like other games.
Yeah, and one of why I'm talking about this is because it has since emerged in a couple of exposés, including a very good one by Rolling Stone. I recommend people go look up, which is interviews with like people behind the scenes in the production who've like signed NDA. So it's like we're not telling you who we are, but we worked on the show. Mm-hmm. That Netflix, allegedly, although I'm just going to say they probably did, have already decided who's going to make it through, because there were people on the show who's like, well, I checked my microphone and it had no batteries in it.
Oh.
Which means that I'm not mic'd up properly. But Joe, who is mic'd up? Influencers and TikTok stars. People who've been pre-decided by productions go through, and the reports of like people who are like, you know, these TikTok stars, these influencers, failing or losing and then getting put back into the game.
Yeah.
Which it's inadvertently perfectly mirrors the point of the show of like, you think you have a chance, but it's already been pre-decided that you're going to fail.
Yeah.
And they probably didn't intend that, but that's so deliciously ironic to me.
It's quite funny because that just reminds me of like I recently just decided to watch like the new version of Takeshi's Castle with
Takeshi's Castle was fairer because at least then you knew you were being fucked over. Is the newer one like really bad?
So I will say, to cap it off, to start, like, just the English commentary is terrible, and I don't want to watch Takeshi's Castle because of it.
Is that the one with Ramesh?
It's like they're getting told, like, getting fucking held at gunpoint to make commentary for that show. You think they weren't getting paid.
But Takeshi's Castle's so fun.
Not to them, it's not.
But why did they just not get Harry Hill? Get him to do it. He fucking loves, like you've
they
been
just
framed.
sit there complaining that they're watching Takeshi's Castle for the entire thing.
Oh, I'm so annoyed.
But anyway,
as someone who's been paid to sit in a nice warm room talking to a mic, it sucks. I hate it. It's the worst job ever.
Fucking pissed me off so much. But yeah, so they did Stepping Stones, and Stepping Stones is a classic for Takeshi's Castle.
The Shin Annihilator.
The Shin Destroyer. And guess how many people out of like the 70 something that made it through the first round. Guess how many got through?
No one ever makes it through Stepping Stones.
Karl, 0 people.
Good.
0 people made it through Stepping Stones, to the point where every single round is basically nobody makes it through, and the people we've decided look interesting on camera get given a pass.
Yeah, and that's the thing of like...
And we've decided 20 people made it through Stepping Stones because they were amusing.
Like, Takeshi's Castle always had elements of that, and I like that they fucked you over in both ways, where sometimes, like... And that's one of the beautiful things. Like, Takeshi's Castle is a great example where no one was taking part in Takeshi's Castle because they needed to. It was because it was this cultural phenomenon, this mainstay that they just wanted to take part in.
Someone turned up in a giant mascot outfit just for the fun of it.
It's like Ninja Warrior in Japan, or like Sasuke as it's called over there. No,
right.
And I hate the American version because they have to say it's like you win $1 million. It's like it was never about that. It was just about, can you do it? Can you become the Ninja Warrior? And I love that you had Count Takeshi would help you or hinder you depending on what mood he was in. And you're like, do you know the guys who would like hide in the like the maze and stuff? Yeah. Like sometimes you'd have like, you know, like this 5 foot tall, 85-pound Japanese lady go through and scream, and the mascots would feel bad and just push her to the exit.
Yeah, but other times you'd get them where they just grab her and like run away with her and throw her into the water.
And it's like, you know, it's not fair, but the unfairness was part of the charm of it's on the whims of the people on the day. And you always knew that it was unfair, and that was part of the charm. Whereas this just feels more insidious of like, we're just not going to let you go through.
Yeah, and you can feel like the Netflix grubby hands all over it of like, well, you know, as you say, these influencers, these people who are better on camera and stuff, they're the ones that we're going to highlight and keep going.
And all I think from that is like stuff like X Factor and America's Got Talent and all that stuff. Like, I hate that
reality TV in general,
and I hate that kind of reality TV. Like that's why I love stuff like Great British Bake Off, where it's the taking part that counts. So like, you know, old quiz shows and stuff. You had like Bullseye, where the grand prize was like a fucking caravan or a microwave.
Like, you've brought up a many time countdown before of just like
you win
is a fucking teapot.
Yeah, it's like it's about the prestige of winning and taking part on this cultural institution. And I think Takeshi's Castle always had that thing for me of like, no one ever thought they were going to win Takeshi's Castle. It's about being on Takeshi's Castle.
Like, you get to the final and you got this tiny little water pistol, like, and eventually it became like the like laser tag type gun, right? Where they could probably just be like, nah, you didn't hit us anyway. And it's like, you're not, and I think there is like a tiny list of people that
8 people.
Takeshi's Castle.
I always talk about the episode, and I don't care, it might be a false memory, but never correct me on it. When I saw someone win and they won 14 speedboats. Because just every week the prize carries over and there's got 14 speedboats for winning. I don't care if that's not accurate. In my head, I remember seeing someone win it.
It might be complete bullshit, but I love the fact that, like,
just as a little kid,
take this away.
Yeah, I remember seeing someone win it. I remember the episode where someone won. Because I remember the next episode was the contestants had to defend the castle from Count Takeshi. But Count Takeshi would cheat. And when his men fell off, he'd pull them out of the water and push them back in. And the thing is, that felt fun. It's just like people there, they know why they're there. But like this Netflix one, like this Squid Game thing is like, it's not that. So for example, Filming, it filmed in the UK, reports emerged that ambulances have been called to treat real-life injuries sustained while filming the show. Several players claimed in an interview that red light and green light had actually lasted between 7 and 9 hours, with players being asked to hold poses for up to 30 minutes, and that's as they flew drones around to get pick-up shots and stuff. And they even had, like, some of these influencers and TikTok stars would fall over, producers would go up and help them stand back up.
Because I saw one person talking about it on TikTok. Again, I've not seen any of this show and they weren't using clips, but it was like, oh, people were like apparently making fun of someone for like squatting down and then like
falling
not
over,
being able to squat for any longer,
and they've been squatting for half an hour.
Oh, but actually she was squatting for half an hour, not 30 seconds.
And here's the thing as well, like, that is literally a form of torture. That is known as what's called a stress position. And being forced to crouch down, like anyone who's just trying to do like a plank will know that being forced to hold a plank for like 30 seconds or more really hurts. Now imagine being forced to do that for half an hour.
Yep.
But yeah, we have.
And it's like, and then obviously they frame it in a way where, oh no, they were just stood still for a minute.
Not to mention as well, it was also filmed in like British like weather. It was really cold. And they reportedly took away people's like hand warmers and thermals so they could like not cover up the jumpsuits that they were wearing.
Yeah,
and people were getting like
people were like running around with their hands in the jumpsuit the entire time, and people were like, well, that looks a bit odd. Like if this was just like a 2-minute game or a 10-minute game or whatever, why is everyone so cold?
Yeah, and then what gets me as well is they do the thing of, for fun, they put squibs on everybody so they get shot and pretend to die. And it's just that thing of like, we're now having TV shows where people pretend to get shot for our amusement.
It's one step further to like the actual future where something like Squid Game or like Running Man or something would exist.
The thing is though, you look at it, it's Black Mirror. It's and that's the thing.
Like, yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah.
Have you ever seen that like the now legendary tweet of like sci-fi author? I created the Torment Nexus as a cautionary tale about the perils of technology. And he's like tech bros 10 years down the line. We finally created the Torment Nexus from the great sci-fi novel. Do not create the Torment Nexus. That's what it is, and it's like the Squid Game show. Wouldn't it be fucked up if people did this? And they're like, wow, that looks great.
This earned a shit ton of money, let's do that.
And then critical response. The show has received a mixed reception from both critics and audiences. On Rotten Tomatoes, the series has an approval rating of 44% based on 39 reviews. Ryan Smith wrote in Newsweek, Netflix's new spin-off of the thrilling Korean drama not only succeeds, but triumphs in bringing to screens one of the most compelling TV competitions of the decade. Like, at what point does Ryan Smith just want to like watch Bloodsport? Does he watch the Hunger Games and wank himself off when the kids start killing each other?
All I'll say is, as much as there is still like some reality TV show bullshit going on clearly behind the scenes, go watch Physical 100 instead.
Just go watch Ninja Warrior.
And I'm specifically talking about like, you know, a Netflix show that you can go watch right now that's better than like the Squid Game, the challenge or whatever. Go watch Physical 100 if you just want to watch like 100 people in Korea throw each other about for fun.
And I say, great. Or just go watch Ninja Warrior. Because I think Ninja Warrior is like the pinnacle of this sort of thing of just people compete for the prestige of winning. You get a prize, but no one's taking part because they need to feed their wife and kids. They're taking part because I want to be a Ninja Warrior.
Ninja Warrior is just like annoyingly hard to access over at least
it is,
UK television.
And the American version fucking sucks because it's always like, oh yeah, I'm doing this for my family. It's like your family doesn't care if you can climb up a wall really fast.
It's like, just say I want to be a Ninja Warrior and go.
So I still remember, like, I think Ninja Warrior is the best though because it highlights what strength is, and like you always get like I'm a firefighter and like some huge buff dude, and like he'll go through and it's okay, now pull your entire body weight up this thing, and he's like, and he falls over, and someone goes, oh, I'm a gymnast.
I remember like, again, it's not as good a version, but I do like that type of Ninja Warrior-esque TV show. I watched a lot of that Ultimate Beastmaster.
Yeah.
And it's almost always dominated by fucking rock climbers because they get such an all-round amount of exercise.
Yeah, I had some friends over the other day, and they do rock climbing, and they were just doing pull-ups on my door frame.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at that and go like, that's what strength is. But anyway, so other reviews. Nicholas Quar said, not only does Squid Game The Challenge qualify as damn good reality TV, there's nothing better on reality TV than watching people cry because the money that I paid for their mother's cancer treatment has been lost. The game show uses language of modern reality television to realise, in its own strange way, the themes of Don Quixote's parable of capitalism grinding human beings into dust. Squid Game The Challenge, they concluded, isn't just a good reality TV show, it's a morally righteous one. Watching people scramble for the scraps that Netflix deems them worthy of fighting for is a morally righteous TV show.
Like, I thought a lot of these reviews would be like, oh yeah, well, you know what? Put things aside of like the mixed messages and stuff and not understanding them.
It's just
the
cruel.
TV show. It's
cruel
fun to watch or whatever. But like, I'm not saying it's fun to watch. I thought that's what reviewers might say. The fact that someone's saying that it's morally righteous.
Yeah, they try. You think they'd do that thing of like, okay, ignoring the obvious like insult to the original creator's vision. And fun fact, the original creator's got no fucking money for this because Netflix bought the rights to him and he got fucked. He gets no money from the Netflix stream. I think he got $100,000. For the second season, though, he managed to, like, going what you said, he got fucked when he first signed over the rights, and now for season 2, he's getting so much more money. But yeah, you think they'd do that, and you think they'd try and, like, pussyfoot around the idea that it's an insult to the message of the original show.
It's kind of as well when we talk about, like, something like The Biggest Loser, where it's like, look, I understand that it's, like, it's a horrible thing to do to like the contestants, but in terms of like some bad trashy television, it can be a fun watch.
And here's the thing,
and like you've got to put that like dissonance aside and kind of, you know, okay, well I'll watch it with kind of like a bit of a bad feeling, and these people are like, no, it's morally righteous.
Not to mention as well, that show was airing like 10 years ago, so it's like, you know, it's the context of 10 years ago, you know. It was okay to treat people like that on television, like whereas now we've become more culturally aware of the fact that, you know, reality TV is very exploitative, and you'd hope we'd move past it. And it's like, no, we're just thinking of ways to make it shittier, the enshittification, if you will. So for the Telegraph, Jasper Reese said the reality TV show loses none of the tension or intrigue of the original. I am agog to discover how ruthless the last dollar-driven survivors can be. So I guess it's like, at least they're acknowledging that, yeah, the people in it are kind of fucked up. It's like, it's almost like they're competing for a life-changing amount of money, and the TV show, the people making the show, deliberately choose people who would be the most, like, you know, drama-driven by picking people who are, you know, really, really desperate for the money.
And I will ask as well, have you seen this show?
Which one?
Did you, like, go and watch through the Squid Game, The Challenge, or whatever?
No. I categorically refuse to watch. I saw one clip, and it's a guy crying. And then I saw, like, the context of, well, he had to pick the shape for his entire team. And he's crying because basically he just lost his entire teammate. Like, basically, everyone on his team just got disqualified. And people on his team are like, oh, why are you competing? My mum's got cancer. And that's the thing. Yeah. I don't find that to be a compelling TV show. Do you know what I'd like? No. Someone just goes on like, I thought it'd be fun. Do you like Total Wipeout, where people just get fucking annihilated by like the cones? It's like, why are you doing it? It's like, it looked like a laugh.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I was just going to ask that if you had seen it, is there the moment where they give everyone like knives and turn the lights off?
No.
Just like, no. Because like there is that point in the thing where they just encourage everyone to murder each other in the dark, right?
And it's also worth pointing out as well that no one involved got paid. You might be thinking, well, why would they get paid? It is virtually like universal in almost every reality TV show that people get what is known as a per diem, a per day.
It's not a reality TV show, it's a game show.
But even on game shows, people still get paid for their time. Like, say, for example, if you went to be on like The Price is Right, if you don't win, they still pay for you to come to a studio. They'll put you up in a hotel. Sometimes they'll give you a couple $100, like, buy food, go to the store, buy yourself, like, some nice new clothes for the day, and then we'll give you a taxi back to the airport.
Right, yeah.
This show...
Yeah, they don't get paid for, like, appearing on the show.
But your time.
Necessarily, but, like, you are compensated in other ways.
Yeah, you're compensated for the time it took you to be on the show, but you don't win the prize. They've not compensated people for this, and people had to pay their own way.
Oh, fucking hell.
Yeah, so they couldn't even do that.
So all those people they've flown over from other countries and stuff, they didn't fly them over?
Some of the ones that the TikTok stars have, yeah. But some of the other people, it's just like, they're asking like, oh, do I get like food today? It's like, no. There's food at the hotel, buy some. And there's people going, well, of course, yeah, you didn't win. It's like, it is near universally the case where in every other production of every other TV show. Like, Jackass pays the fucking people who appear in it like a per diem. Like, they give people money for being on the show.
You would assume that people are at least being put up while they are appearing on the show.
Yeah, and having their food and enough to stuff paid for, yeah. No. Chase Hutchinson for Collider said, I found it to be shameless and opportunistic, and concluded if the corrupt force of capitalism should be made into a shambling corpse of television, it would look a lot like Squid Game The Challenge. So that's like the only overtly negative review on this entire wiki page.
Yeah, and I like, that thing is part of me, that monkey brain thing of like, well, I want to see how ridiculous it gets and how bad it gets in terms of like, how much do they obfuscate how badly they're treating people and stuff, but I don't want to give the view. I don't want to encourage Netflix to think that I want to watch it.
And they could get away with it if the people on the show were people of means. Like, not necessarily like, rich people, it's not... Like, do you know when they do like the talking head section, like, why are you competing? And they always have to have like the sob story of like, it's like,
yeah, I wouldn't care as much if it was like, well, mummy and daddy thought it would be fun to pay for me to come over and do this challenge.
Or even if it's just like, regular people off the street. If like they said like, what do you do for a living? It's like, I don't know, I work in like a bank. It'd be fun. Like, it's just because obviously that's not very dramaful. They need to have that thing of like, well, this person is literally competing for like, their child's healthcare or something like that, or a life-changing amount of money to drag themselves out of poverty. That is very compelling TV watching. But then you just feel bad when they lose. Of like, and then you actually
see. No, I would really like it if it was like them knowing exactly what they're doing, and they only got like actually rich people involved, and they just like tortured rich people for the sake of our amusement. That would be an interesting way to like maybe get around the criticism of like, you didn't understand what Squid Game was about.
Yeah, well, I like that idea of like, let's do Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, but for billionaires, so it's a threat. I like that one. Or like the concept, Lucas, are you familiar? We use a lot of like internet terms, but are you familiar with the concept of the orphan crushing machine?
No.
So I'm just gonna like. So the orphan crushing machine is a term used to describe like when just a moment is portrayed as being wholesome because the orphan crushing machine was turned off, and at no point is anyone in the story asked, well, why do we have an orphan crushing machine? And like those stories like this little kid's in a wheelchair, his classmates raise money to buy him a new wheelchair. And it's like, it's like, put forward as a wholesome story.
That's a nice wholesome story, but also why does this child have to like rely on people around the community to pay for a new wheelchair? Why are they not provided?
Yeah, it's the thing of like, oh, this child, like, we let this child free from the orphan crushing machine. It's like, wait, why do we have an orphan crushing? No, don't ask. He escaped. And it's that, isn't it? Of like, oh, look, this person who's like on the breadline as a mum who's in hospital earned enough money so they can pay for her cancer treatments. And it's like, that's really wholesome. Wait, but why does she need to compete on a game show to pay for cancer treatments? That's kind of fun. Sure, no, here we go. Don't look at why we have the orphan crushing machine.
To weirdly pull on another, thing, it's like, I guess, fitting because Netflix are making a sequel. But like, it's like Chicken Run and how it's framed of like the person making the chicken pie at the farm is like the bad person.
Yeah.
Because like, to the chickens, they're being raised to be murdered and put into pies.
Yeah. But at no point do they
we all escaped from the pie making machine, and it's like, wait, but why were they like actively being thrown into the pie making machine?
And there it is. And a Chicken Run again, another very thinly veiled allegory for capitalism. Because they even say, don't they? It's like, we make all the eggs. Like, people thinking, wait, Chicken Run's an allegory for capitalism. Like, well, think about it. The point is, like, those chickens, they create value in the form of their eggs. What happens when they're no longer able to create value? They get turned into food. It's like when they're unable, like, when the fruits of their labor no longer are able to, like, provide profit, they themselves become the fuel that feeds the machine.
Yeah, literally, she decides that, well, we'll be more profitable by murdering all the chickens and turning them into pie than we would sustaining them and getting eggs from them.
Yeah, because when they stop producing eggs, we just kill them, eat them anyway. And then they're making a sequel to it.
But I do like Chicken Run.
Chicken Run's a great movie, yeah, but it's just one of those things of like, yeah, it asks a question, and then it doesn't really have the balls to follow through on asking the question, does it? So like, why does this system exist? It's like, again, the orphan crushing machine. It's like they escape from the organ. Like, why do we have one of those again? So I think
I like as well that Netflix doesn't even have the balls to be like, oh well, at least the person made out with like money to pay for her family healthcare. No, she just lost.
That's why it should be a thing of like everyone. Like I like those game shows. Like I said, the old-fashioned ones where I think like Bullseye was a great one. Where I think the joke always was, at least you got your bus fare. And that was the joke of like they paid people to come to the show, and everyone goes home with like an alarm clock.
Everyone got to go there for free and had a fun time.
And the prize pool was like you never won more than a couple £100. So that is a lot of money to a lot of people, but it's not enough money where you would like be desperate to win it. It's more about you want to be on the show and have a fun day out, and then it's potentially you might win a couple £100 or like a new cooker. You're not going on the show because you desperately need a new cooker, but it'd be nice if you did win one. And that makes for a more wholesome experience. And just, yeah. And that'd be that nice thing of like, everyone involved in a show is going to get, a little bit of money. And like the higher the prize pool gets, the more ruthless people are going to be. Because like, look how ruthless Netflix is. Yeah. Like fucking over the guy who wrote, they fucked over the guy who wrote Squid Game. Mm-hmm. Like he made them $1 billion. And he got paid like 150 grand.
Yeah.
And when they asked him, like, did Netflix offer you any more? What the fuck would they do that?
No, exactly. They got a great deal out of it.
Yeah, they got a great deal.
And I like that, like, once again, we've kind of accidentally come with, like, some matching wikis
complimentary wikis, yeah.
Just fuck Spotify, fuck Netflix.
Well, I had two that I was going to do. And the first one I was going to do is the Flash movie. When we started talking about that, I put my second one up because I thought it'd be nice and complimentary. And, like, the conversations would, flow into one another a little bit.
Well, don't you want to do like a Wiki Weekends on the Flash movie so you can put like fun clips of that awful movie?
Well, oddly enough, like my decision on which ones to cover based on how much I want to do clips. And I want to do the Gordon Ramsay Kitchen Nightmares episode, but I don't want to do it on the podcast because I want to put in clips of like the pigeon being in the restaurant. Because I just love just the smash cut of Gordon Ramsay being like, the freshest thing in this kitchen is that pigeon. And the shit post people do like the pigeon in the big puffer jacket like, thank you, chef. Look, you're laughing. That's why I want to put it in.
Oh,
I love
you got to give a cameo to Chef Mike.
Oh, I'm going to put so much. That's why as well. I want to put the clips in. But like this one, I don't want to put clips in of like this show. But I do want to talk about it. And that's the beauty of the format.
I find it fitting that implies that you don't want to have to go and watch clips of the Flash movie.
I don't want to. Have you seen? There's an amazing thing. Obviously, people who are watching that, like they've drank the Kool-Aid. Like, they're so deep in that you can't... It's like the Goku fans, isn't it? We mentioned right at the start of... You can't convince them that they're wrong because so much of their personality hinges on them being right. So the more that gets introduced to prove them wrong, the further they dig in. It's the same like there's people putting up clips of like the Flash of like, no seat, like this... Like, this is all just one cut, if you can believe it. And it's the Flash running in complete CGI, doing that stupid fucking thing he does where he takes one step and travels like 8 miles. And it's like, and it all looks terrible. The CGI's got awful. Like the framing is awful because it's in slow motion. It doesn't look like he's running very fast. He's doing that stupid fucking thing that Zack Snyder insisted on. He has to run where he throws his arms like out to the side,
like speed skating run instead. Yeah.
And what cracked me up is because I've just finished editing like the Incredibles video when I was doing that one, and I was looking at it thinking, is Dash the best like screen adaptation we've gotten of super speed? Not in terms of, like, obviously everyone's going to say Quicksilver. Like, that's a good...
obviously that's
that
the best
visually,
example, probably.
That's interesting. But I mean specifically of the character running. Because you never see the Flash run. You never see Quicksilver running. He teleports, doesn't he? Except when it goes into slow motion.
It's like, just... and kind of like, just blurs across the screen when he's running fast.
Which is the way most pieces of media do it. Because they realise that showing a character running really fast would look stupid. Ergo... I was like smash cut to the Flash and Ezra Miller running like they've shit themselves. But then I look like Dash, like you see he hauls fucking ass, and you see like his little arms, his little legs going really fast.
And I just one of my favorite scenes in all of The Incredibles, which we forgot to mention, was like just the bit where the end doing the track run. And they're like, no, slow down,
Yeah,
slow down.
slow
No,
down.
faster. It's like, come second, close second.
But something else, like, I was watching, I noticed, well, he has momentum. Because that's the problem though with super speed in a lot of TV shows and movies. They don't have, like, they'll stop on a dime. It's like, well, that'd snap your ankles off.
Yeah,
So do you like speed skaters when they stop and, like, it sprays, like, 5, like, pounds of ice into the air? Every time the Flash comes to a complete stop, that should happen with rubble. Like, the pavement should do that. And you see that with Dash, where, like, when he's running on the water, and, like, the two things are, like, closing in on him, he stops and he skids and he runs, and he stops and he skids and he just stops and drops down into the water. But, like, when he's running, he has momentum. And when he falls over and he falls, tumbles, like, 40 yards. Because he has momentum. Like, they actually went to the effort of thinking, like, well, if he was actually doing this within a real physical space, what would someone with super speed do? It's like Mr. Incredible, isn't it? Like, when he, like, runs and he jumps. Like, you see, like, rubble on the floor when he jumps. Because, of course, that level of force coming out of his legs would destroy the concrete he's on. Then you watch the Flash movie and he's just... And like I said, they're too deep in to know how shit it looks. And every clip I see from that movie is just horrendous.
It's, like, worse than the last one. I never forget that, like, was it, like, fan voted, like, best moment?
Best moment.
Or whatever. And they picked, like, the moment was, oh my god, this spectacular moment where the Flash, like, in the Zack Snyder cut, like, goes and saves the world or whatever.
He enters the Speed Force, and it looks fucking terrible.
It looks awful. Awful. And it's like, I cannot imagine the level of, like, as you said,
the
like,
level of cope. Level of cope.
The fucking, the coping, the brainwashing involved. To think that is a good moment.
Like, to convince yourself.
That even looks decent.
To convince yourself it's not only looks decent, it is the single best superhero moment. When there's, like, The Incredibles as a film exists. Or even just, like, the MCU gets shit on, but, there's a lot of really good moments in that just look visually interesting.
Yeah, there's a lot of, couple of minutes here and there that are, like, really stand out.
It's like,
And even as we say, the Quicksilver scenes as well.
Yeah. That's just something I noticed of, like, you never see speedsters running. You see them, they'll teleport. Like, they'll stand there and then they'll zip and appear in another part of the room, but...
Or you see Quicksilver running, but it's in his speed,
from his perspective.
So it's regular speed running.
Whereas when you watch, like, The Incredibles, when Dash runs, he fucking runs. And he hauls... he hauls some ass.
And people might be like, oh yeah, but that's a CGI character. Guess what? They all fucking
They're all CGI characters, aren't there? And I just could not get over how shit it looks when the Flash runs. Because I think as well, someone worked out every step the Flash is taking should be 4 kilometers with how fast he's going. How would he turn? Like, you see him, every step, like, 5 buildings go past, but then he follows a road like this. It's like, and I think someone even said, like, the running in Eternals looks better because they have momentum.
Way better, yeah.
And you see, like, when she jumps, and she jumps like 30 miles and then lands and then rolls. Because, of course, you've got that much momentum that you keep going and have to, like, roll into it.
Yeah, I think it was that character. There's so many in Eternal. I think that might have one been Makari.
But, yeah, when
like,
they're running.
Just the super speed running effects in Eternals were kind of overlooked. Like, they did a really good job in that movie.
It's more just the momentum. So that's the thing. It's like, does the character have momentum when they move?
Well, yeah, the entire... as a speedster, just the effects on it and stuff. Like,
so I think,
because that was a very boring, middling movie. Like, I think that one gets overlooked a little bit.
But, yeah, when I saw, like, that clip compared to the Flash one, when it's just him running in slow motion with his arms by his side, it's like, well, he doesn't actually look like that's taking any effort, and I guess it doesn't for him. But it's like, it doesn't look good. But then it's like, there's no way to, like, mentally put yourself in that situation. Whereas you see, like you said, Ikari, when they're running. So you see them, like, when they run, like, they go past something, they do that thing when they run like this, but then they have to, like, catch up with themselves. They're, like, falling over. Or in, like, when Dash falls over and he eats shit for, like, 400 yards. Because, if you were running at 75 miles an hour and tripped over a branch, that's what would happen.
Yeah.
Or, like, when he grabs, like, a vine and goes, whoa! Just...
I forgot about that one, yeah.
Or, like, when he falls off the edge of the, like, the mountain and goes, like, 300 yards. Or when he gets into a fight and he realises because he can run that fast, like, he can just see 1,000,000 miles an hour. So the guy punches him and he just goes, oh yeah, I can do that.
Yeah, it's like, I can probably not knock this guy out, but he can't knock me out either.
And he just punches him like 400 times. Which admittedly is an excessive amount of time to punch somebody, but...
But he's a child, like, it's doing nothing to the man.
But yeah, that's why I don't want to put clips of that in, because I realise I don't want to watch it I don't want to have to watch the movie. I don't want to put clips of it in, and I don't want to deal with people saying, "No, Karl, it actually looks really good. You just don't understand."
Smashed to cut to just baby in a microwave.
No, the joke I always make, it's weird that the baby's safer in a microwave than it is with Ezra Miller.
Anyway, this one has been a bit of a longer one, and I think that's a good point to end it there.
Yeah. Babies are safer in microwaves than they are with Ezra Miller.
You know, I guess we can, make a little allusion to the start of like, well, if you would like to share this so that a small YouTube channel can get a potential chance of being on the trending tab instead of Death Battle, maybe go and share this podcast somewhere. And
that cracked me up so much. Just when they were like, I get it. It must suck when you see people like someone reacting to a movie trailer.
When it's just Mr. Beast every fucking day.
Yeah. Or someone reacting to a movie trailer, so doesn't put as much effort into their videos as they clearly do. But it's like,
yeah, like I said, Mr. Beast.
He's got. I don't think he.
No, I just don't.
He doesn't put the effort in. The entire army of people he has working in his company town, working for Mr. Beast books do.
Yeah.
There's a lot of production value there. And it's worth pointing out that Mr. Beast did someone mentioned he did a Squid Game thing, and he did pay everyone who took part. Everyone who took part did get paid, obviously not as much as the prize pool, but they all got paid for their time and a couple $100 put in their pocket for the being on camera and stuff.
It's funny that a YouTube creator can, I guess, be slightly more good about making a Squid Game game than fucking Netflix can.
So they should have made it and let the guy who wrote the story should have wrote some new games and had the Netflix executives who ripped it off be part of it. I'd have watched that.
Yeah. That's what I mean. Get a bunch of fucking rich kids and make them do it. I wouldn't give a shit if they were being exploited then.
Did you ever see that if
it was just a bunch of fucking millionaires?
Yeah, do you remember the Fire Festival? There was this.
I remember the Fire.
There was an amazing interview with just some kid who won a ticket, and he said, and he's the only person who seems to have fun there because they interview him and say, "Well, I won the ticket in a raffle at a bar, and I just came for the laugh, and I've been here watching rich people cry when their luggage is being handled roughly, or they've got to eat sandwiches. It has been chicken soup for my middle class soul." And it's just a picture of him wearing a pair of sunglasses and a vest, stood in the debris of Fire Festival, having the time of his life. Because he's
it would be kind of cathartic to just watch multi-millionaires have a breakdown.
He's just sat there and they're complaining that they're drinking bottles of water and eating sandwiches. Have you ever been to a festival? And he just spent the entire time laughing at the rich people crying that the luggage was being handled poorly. And he's there with a duffel bag with a pair of underwear in it and a bottle of Jack Daniels. It's whatever.
Oh,
Legend.
Fucking hero. Oh, yeah, so let us know which wiki that won this week. We've had a fun one this week. And
we're back.
Yeah, as I say, just give us a like, comment below, do all the good stuff, give, subscribe, share, blah blah blah. I hate doing the spiel, but it does help.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you all for listening, and hopefully we've appeared in your Spotify Wrapped either this year or maybe next year when we get a bit more viewers. Hopefully,
let us know if we did.
Yeah, give us a shout out. Obviously, we've only been around for half of this year. It's unlikely, but not everyone's like me and listens to 40 days worth of podcasts on Spotify.
Yeah. I'll never forget. Just Lucas. I fumbled a baddie, man. I did it. I live. I think I fumbled a baddie because I didn't have my Spotify Wrapped.
Karl got fucking outdone by Spotify.
God damn it, Spotify Wrapped. Oh, cheers, everybody.
He literally got cock blocked by Spotify.
I did.